So steps to solve a radical equation. You're going to make sure that the radical is isolated. Square root both sides of the equation to eliminate the radical sign. We're going to solve the remaining equation, and then we're going to check for extraneous circumstances, which means that solutions that do not work in the original equation. So, helps if I have my pen out. Solutions that do not work in the original equation. Okay, so we're going to work the problem out, and we are actually going to check the problem just to make sure that it works, because with square roots, it doesn't always work. With square roots, they don't always work, because you got to be careful not to get like a negative underneath a square root. It turns into this hot mess that you don't know how to deal with yet. Okay, so we're going to start with the first one. We have the square root of x is equal to 9. I have a feeling in your mind already you have an idea of what x is. Now let me show you how to solve it. So with this problem here, and I'm going to rewrite it so it's a little bit bigger for me to look at here. Do I need to move anything, or do I have the square root all alone? Okay, and on all of these I think I do. I don't think I have anything added to them. So since to get rid of a square root, so when we solve equations, to get rid of add, you have to get rid of divide, you have to, okay, to get rid of a square root, the opposite of a square root is to square it. So the square root squared cancels each other out. So I'm left with x is equal to 81. Squaring a square root cancels it out. So it's the opposite of it. So now we're going to do a quick check. So this is our check over here. And we're going to plug this answer in up here. So we're going to go square roots of 81 is equal to 9. We're going to make sure it works, because if it doesn't work and give us the right answer, something went wrong. So square root of 81 is, does 9 equal 9?
Yes.
Check. That works. We have to be careful that we don't end up with a negative under the square root, because it doesn't work. Okay. All right, try the next one here. Now, because I write big, I'm just going to rewrite the problem out. So I have the square root of m plus 5, because that's almost too small for me to put the information in between. So I don't have anything added or subtracted outside of the square root. So I can get rid of the square root by squaring both sides. When I square a square root, it cancels these two things out. I'm left with what's inside m plus 5 is equal to 4. Go ahead and solve that equation. That's what we think it is, right? I should have boxed off my answer here.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's check it just to make sure, because you cannot do, and I hope this works out. I'm going to ask you in your calculator right now. First of all, what's the square root of 1? What is the square root of 1? 1. Try the square root of negative 1. It doesn't work. And it's not that your calculator can't do it. As of right now, the square root of -1 doesn't work. You know, you all ask about that little I, that imaginary number? That's it, but you're not there yet. So it doesn't work. So we got to make sure we don't get a negative number under the square root. So let's plug this back in and make sure that doesn't happen. So we go check. And we just take this guy and we plug him in up here. So we go square root -1 plus 5 is equal to 2. So you should be writing this down and checking it. I'm going to expect to see your checks on your test to make sure that you're checking. Okay. This becomes the square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 equals 2. Did that work itself out? So that negative number did become a positive number under the square root. Gianna, you have a question?
How did m plus 5 equal 4?
Because we squared the square root, so it got rid of it. Okay, I'm going to show you something. Are you ready for it? And I'm not, I hope you're ready for it. I'm going to show you over here. So this was the square root of x, right? The square root of x is actually square root as an exponent. Did you know square root is an exponent? It's actually x to the 1/2. Let me show you how that works. Because x is to the first power, right? That's understood all the time. And I hope I don't go too far over your head here. If this doesn't make sense, I apologize. So I'm going to try to go through this. The square root has what number out here that we know? A 2. So it actually becomes to the 1/2. So when I square this number, 1 times 2 is 2. This becomes x to the 2/2. X 2/2 is 1. It actually gets rid of the square root. Okay? It's a little bit more probably than you wanted to see and know right now. So if that didn't make sense, that's okay. You'll see that again later. You have to know that squaring a square root is the opposite. Just like opposite of add is to subtract, opposite of multiply is to divide. Opposite of square root is to square it. The opposite of a cube root is to what? Cube it. Okay? So let's keep going with that. Hopefully that answered your question. If not, let me know so I can answer that. What's that? The half thing?
Like number 2.
Possibly, yeah. We're going to keep going. We got a few more to do. Okay, so this problem right here. The 4y is under the radical. There's nothing else on that side but the square root. So let's get rid of that square root. So the opposite would be to square. But I can't just square this side. I have to square both sides. Sorry, I'm looking to make sure my work was correct on the last one. Okay? Because a square and a square root cancel. It's kind of like when you have a +2 and a -2, you've got nothing. Or 2 divided by 2 is 1. That kind of thing. They cancel each other out. So on this side, I'm left with 4y equals, and then I square the 6 is 36. Okay? And now I'm going to solve the equation. I have 4y equals 36. If you want to reverse the order, go ahead. So I get rid of the 4 on both sides. 9. We're going to plug it back in just to make sure it works. I expect you to do a check. Okay, so we got 6 is equal to 4 times 9. 4 times 9 is 36. Square root of 36 is 6. So that is accurate. Any questions? Say that again.
we always like, where does the square roots fit into PEMDAS? Like, where would we put that?
Okay, so let me show you an example because it's not on this page. Let me show you an example where you would not square root first. Because right now you're still learning it, so that's what you're going to do first. But I'm going to do it over here. So if I have the square root of x plus 6 is equal to, I don't know, 10. I'm making this up as I go. So I'd have to get rid of that 6 first. And I'm isolating. It's kind of like getting the variable by itself. That actually did work out pretty well. And now I could square it. If I had something that was like 3 square root x equals 10, I'd have to, since this is 3 times the square root of x, I'd have to divide by 3 first. Then I square it. I got to isolate that square root. Okay? Right now, I think we've just got you basics started here. I'm trying to think what your delta math looks like. All right, let's try this one. So, am I isolated? Yes. So, I'm going to square here and square here. Well, remember that these cancel. Square roots of a squared cancels. Okay, you're going to square both sides. So it looks like you're all working. I'm going to do this a little bit differently. Okay, I'm going to actually square everything. You're doing it hopefully the way I showed you. Okay, I went ahead and squared it. The square root of a squared is just a. The square root of 9 is 3. So see how I can go from here to here? I did every step in between, but I didn't need to. I just wanted to show you every step in between so you understand where it comes from. Okay, so then now I would multiply by 3. Okay, A is that 147? Okay, now let's do our check real quick. I don't expect you to have all that middle stuff. I just wanted you to show you when you square it, if you don't cancel it, it will cancel at the ends. So if you did it that way, it wouldn't hurt it. 147 divided by 3, 7. 147 divided by 3 is 49. Okay. Questions there? Doing okay so far? Okay, let's try. We got 2 more to try. Let's practice these 2 more. I don't think I gave you a lot of problems today, so. All right. Are we good and isolated? Let's go ahead and square this guy. This is where if you tried to square this, you'd be like, wait, what is going on? So knowing that it cancels, that will help you. The square root cancels as squared, so I get 5m minus 1 is equal to 13 squared is 169. Any questions where I got that from? Okay, so if you've got this, try this one and then the next one, and I'll just work through mine slowly on the board. There are the 2.